Imagine a family that has more money than entire countries. Not just one country, not just poor countries, but more wealth than powerful nations that have millions of people. That sounds impossible, right? But it's real. And the family I'm talking about has been doing this for over 200 years. The Rothschild family has built an empire so big that experts estimate their wealth is somewhere between $400 billion and $2 trillion. That's more money than the GDP of countries like Norway, Singapore, or Ireland. But here's what makes this even crazier. Most people have never even heard their name. While everyone talks about Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, this family has been quietly controlling more wealth than both of them combined for centuries. How is that even possible? In this video, I'm going to show you 3 things that will blow your mind. First, how one man started with almost nothing and built a fortune by outsmarting every king in Europe. Second, the secret meeting where this family literally saved the Bank of England from total collapse. And third, how they own things in your life right now that you use every single day without knowing it. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is documented history that most people never learn about. The Rothschilds didn't just get rich. They changed how the entire world handles money. They invented banking tricks that countries still use today. They funded wars. They built railroads across continents. They even helped create the nation of Israel. And they did it all while staying almost completely out of the public eye. Let me show you exactly how this happened and why it matters to you right now. To understand how powerful the Rothschilds became, we need to go back to 1744. That's when Mayer Amschel Rothschild was born in Frankfurt, Germany. But Frankfurt wasn't the nice city you might visit today. Back then, Jewish people in Frankfurt were forced to live in a tiny, crowded ghetto. They couldn't own land. They couldn't join most professions. They had to be inside by a certain time each night, like a curfew. Young Mayer grew up in a single street with thousands of other Jewish families all crammed together. His family was poor. His father was a small-time money changer dealing with old coins. Most kids in that situation would stay poor their whole lives. The system was designed to keep them down. But Mayer was different. He was brilliant with numbers. He could look at old coins and tell you exactly what they were worth. By the time he was a teenager, he knew more about rare coins than men twice his age. Here's the first surprise. Mayer didn't make his fortune by working harder than everyone else. He made it by being smarter about who he knew. He started doing business with Prince William of Hanau, one of the richest royals in Germany. Mayer would find rare coins for the prince's collection. But he wasn't just selling coins, he was building trust. And here's something fascinating. While other businessmen would try to charge the highest price possible, Mayer sometimes charged less than the coins were worth. Why? Because he was playing a longer game. The prince started trusting him with bigger things. Not just coins anymore, but real money. Serious money. The kind of money that princes use to pay armies. Now here's the second surprise in this section. Mayer had 5 sons, and he did something that no other business family had done before. He sent each son to a different major city in Europe. One son went to London, one to Paris, one to Vienna, one to Naples, and one stayed in Frankfurt. Think about what this meant. In the 1800s, there was no internet, no phones, no instant communication. If you wanted to send money from London to Paris, it took weeks. You had to physically move gold and silver on ships and carriages. It was slow, dangerous, and expensive. But the Rothschilds, they had family in every major city. They could move information and money faster than anyone else in the world. This was their secret weapon. Now here's where things get really interesting. The year was 1815. Napoleon Bonaparte was fighting his final battle at Waterloo. The entire future of Europe depended on who won this battle. If Napoleon won, France would control Europe. The French franc would be the most powerful currency. French bonds would be worth a fortune. If Britain and its allies won, the British pound would dominate. British bonds would skyrocket in value. Everyone in Europe was desperate to know who would win. Now stock markets existed back then, just like today, and people are buying and selling like crazy, trying to guess the outcome. Fortunes were being made and lost on rumours. Here's where Nathan Rothschild, the son running the London branch, pulled off one of the most legendary moves in financial history. Nathan had something nobody else had. His own private messenger network. While kings and generals were waiting for official word about the battle, Nathan's personal courier was already racing to London with the news. On June 18th, 1815, the Battle of Waterloo ended. Wellington and the British allies defeated Napoleon. But in London, nobody knew yet. The stock market was in chaos. People were panicking. Should they buy? Should they sell? No one had any idea what was happening. Then, on June 20th, Nathan Rothschild got the news. His courier arrived with the information that Wellington had won. But here's what makes this story absolutely insane. Nathan had this information a full day before the British government knew. Even the king didn't know yet. So what did Nathan do? This is where the story gets controversial. According to historical accounts, Nathan walked into the London Stock Exchange and started selling British bonds. He sold a lot of them. Other traders saw this and panicked. They thought, Nathan Rothschild must know something. If he's selling, Britain must have lost. Everyone started selling. The price of British bonds crashed. People were dumping their investments for almost nothing, terrified that Napoleon had won and Britain was finished. And then, when the prices hit rock bottom, Nathan reportedly started buying. He bought everything he could get his hands on. Hours later, the official news arrived. Britain had won. Wellington was victorious. British bonds exploded in value. They went through the roof. And Nathan Rothschild had just bought massive amounts at the lowest possible price. Historians estimate he made the equivalent of billions of dollars in today's money. In a single day. Some people call this genius. Other people call it manipulation. But one thing is certain, it showed that the Rothschilds had something more valuable than money. They had information when nobody else did. But here's an even deeper truth that most people miss. This wasn't just about one clever trade. This moment proved that the Rothschilds had built a network so powerful that they knew more than kings and governments. They weren't just rich, they were connected in ways that made them indispensable. And they used this power in ways that would shock you. For example, after Waterloo, European governments were broke. They had spent everything on the war. They needed money desperately to rebuild. Who did they turn to? The Rothschilds. Suddenly, the five brothers weren't just lending money to princes. They were lending money to entire countries. They were financing governments. When Austria needed money, they borrowed from the Rothschilds. When Prussia needed money, they borrowed from the Rothschilds. Even the Pope borrowed from the Rothschilds. Think about what this means. These five brothers, whose father started out in a ghetto in Frankfurt, were now so powerful that kings and emperors came to them asking for help. They had become the central bank for all of Europe, before central banks even really existed. But if you think that's crazy, wait until you hear this.